What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video on the channel, and this time we have some more NFL predictions. We finished the regular season with a record of 175-97, which I think is pretty good. Just think of it as like getting a 1.8 KD in COD or something, and it sounds a lot more impressive. What wasn't impressive was our upset of the week record, which went a whopping 4-13. We had a Washington Commander level of failure in that category, but we did almost get all of the locks right. Thanks, Zach Wilson. But we put that to bed and we open up a new area of predictions today, playoffs. And we're kicking that off with a super wildcard weekend prediction. Before we jump into it, I would like to thank any returning viewers or subs for all the support. And if you're new here, thanks for stopping by. And if you enjoy weekly football videos, you'll probably dig more of my content. I basically put up whatever spawns in this thinker right here, and I turn it into video form. Whether it's news, predictions, or concepts, I got it right here. So without any further ado, let's get into the predictions. So starting with the first game on Saturday, we have the Browns at the Texans. The Browns may very well be one of the best teams in the AFC, so the 5 seed doesn't correctly represent them. They didn't win their division, but they have been one of the most dangerous teams in the AFC. They've had a great offense and a great defense, coached by Kevin Stefanski, who is putting on a coaching masterclass right now. And for some of the people who were skeptical of his job coming into the season, you're looking a bit silly. And as much as we can meme about Joe Flacco, this dude can not only win the comeback player of the year, but also lead the Browns to a playoff win. He's made David Njoku an elite tight end in the back end of the season, and he gets the ball where it needs to go. Does he turn the ball over? Yeah, he does. And that's the only reason I can see them dropping this game, because if the Texans are going to keep the ball in their hands due to the Browns' turnover problems, then it's a bit interesting. The Texans have had one of the best passing offenses as well as the lowest turnover total in the league, thanks to CJ Stroud really not throwing that many interceptions and overall keeping the ball pretty safe. At home, they went 6-2, and those 2 losses were to the Colts in week 2, so it's kind of irrelevant at this point. And the other was to the Cleveland Browns in week 16. But CJ Stroud didn't play that week. It was Case Keenum. And the Browns had 5 of their 6 losses come on the road this season, and the last one was at Cincinnati last week with no starters, so really you can take that with a grain of salt. But at the end of the day, the Browns, to me, have looked like one of the best teams, not only in the conference, but in the league. And I think that is a standard that a lot of people could agree with. I think it's safe to say that Cleveland has been one of the more impressive teams and overall have looked like a better team than Houston. They have a little bit more playoff experience, especially with Joe Flacco, who is undefeated in Wild Card Weekend. His last playoff win did come 9 years ago, but he has been making the Browns offense go crazy. He's had 13 passing touchdowns, which is more than a few teams have had all year. So I think that the Browns will go into Houston and take this one. Not to discredit Houston or anything, but I think that they are about a year away or a season away from becoming a legitimate playoff contender. So give me the Browns. Moving on, we have the Dolphins at the Chiefs, and this one revolves around a lot of storylines that you have seen a lot of news outlets or media outlets really dial in on all year long. First off, the game's going to be cold as fuck. It's going to be like getting down into the negatives in Kansas City, as if Arrowhead wasn't hard enough to play in already. But the Dolphins are going into KC with a bad reputation against winning teams. They went 1-5 against them this season. As I mentioned before, they will be going into Arrowhead Stadium. Difficult to play in already, 0-degree weather, and apparently Tua is not great in cold weather. He's like 0-4, 0-5 in those chilly games. But a team that hasn't been playing great lately in general is the Chiefs. They've been struggling to put up a ton of points this year, and they've solely been relying on their defense thanks to a great season by their defensive front and L'Jarius Sneed. Usually we see the Chiefs having a dominant offense, so it's not really something we're super accustomed to seeing with them relying mainly on their defense. You usually see them, it's the Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce show. But this will be Tua's first playoff game, I believe, since Skylar Thompson was the starter in last year's wildcard game, if I'm not mistaken. And of course, this is a little bit of a revenge game for Tyreek Hill. They did play each other in Germany, but Tyreek Hill is returning to Arrowhead in January, something that he is very familiar with. And I don't want to base everything off of the cold weather and the home field advantage though, because the Dolphins are still a top 2 offense, so you can't really take them lightly. This is a matchup that I really don't like picking because I'm kind of 50-50 on this. I'm not super impressed by either team going into the matchup based on the previous weeks of play to end the season. So it's kind of a coin flip, but give me the experience, give me Patrick Mahomes, give me Andy Reid, so give me the Chiefs. Moving to Sunday, we have the Steelers at the Bills. After all the shit that I talked about the Steelers, they made the playoffs. Negative point differential, and they made the playoffs. Mason Rudolph, and they made the playoffs. Now on the other side, I called the Bills frauds earlier in the year, and they're in the playoffs too. They won their division. Now one of these teams has to go and make it to the divisional round, so really my takes are looking kind of bad on this one. But honestly, this one will be quick. The Bills are a better team. They have Josh Allen, who is a beast, albeit risky with the ball at times, and the Steelers are without TJ Watt, so I'm going to take the Bills. And if the glass breaks and I see TJ Watt suit up, I'm going to sound like Jim Ross in this bitch. Next, we have the Packers and the Cowboys. And anytime I think of this matchup, I think of that one year. Cowboys fans, you know what I'm talking about, right? The one where this meme came from? Yeah, that one. Well, the Packers drafted another one of these guys, and he's cooking right now. He's cooking going into the playoffs, and I think that the Cowboys should be a tad bit worried. Dallas, much like Miami, was not very good against winning teams this year. All 5 of their losses were against winning teams, and it should have been 6, quite frankly, but that doesn't change the effectiveness of their offense this season. Dak and CeeDee have been cooking this year, and they'll be going up against a Packers defense that has been decent against the pass, especially in these last 2 weeks, but they have given up the 5th most rushing yards so far. Luckily for them, the Cowboys' run game is non-existent, which has been their biggest problem. But I could dig into these stats all that I want, and despite what my heart wants, despite what my heart is telling me, I'm going to listen to my brain, which may actually let me down more than my heart, I don't know. I'm going to take the Cowboys, but I sure was close to picking the Packers. The Packers might be getting Christian Watson back, and it will elevate their offense for sure because that is Jordan Love's guy, but I'm still going to take the offense that I have more faith in. You give me the combination of Dak and CeeDee, I'm going to take the Cowboys in this one. Moving to Sunday night, we have the Rams at the Lions. Now here's another interesting one. It's a little revenge game for Jared Goff here. Let's not try to make this about Stafford too. He already won his Super Bowl already, so let's focus on Goff. Goff was basically cast aside, and when that trade happened, everyone, including myself, thought that Goff was going to be a transitional quarterback and usher in the next stage of the Lions' never-ending rebuild. But now look, he has a chance to knock the Matthew Stafford-led Rams out of playoffs at Ford Field, and that's huge. I don't want to bring this up every single time I talk about them, but Campbell has changed that culture on a major scale. He has their defense clicking and he has their offense rolling, and now they're finally back in the playoffs. All I know is that this game is going to be a shootout. Amon-Ra is going for $120, Puka's going for $120, Gibbs is going to rack up yards, Kyron Williams is going to rack up yards, and all of that is going to lead to an ending with such poetic justice. Jared Goff knocking off his former team out of the playoffs, and the Lions get their first playoff win since 1991. Then on Monday night, we have the Eagles at the Buccaneers. What the hell happened to the Eagles? They start 10-1 and end up choking off the division to the Cowboys and finish 11-6. Their feared defense from last year has evaporated, and they look like such a beatable team at this point. As for the Bucs, I called what was going to happen last week. Carolina's not an easy place to play against the Panthers. I don't know what it is, but it is. The Bucs scored 9 points in a win, and their last 2 weeks have not been very impressive despite having a season filled with offensive success, at least through the air pretty consistently. And now we have quite an interesting matchup. Now, a lot of people may expect this to be a narrative of the NFC South winner rolling over and getting bounced in the first round. But oh no. On the contrary, my friends. Because even though I don't like these motherfuckers, the Bucs are about to prove you guys wrong. Because not only are they a good enough team to keep up with the Eagles, they're going to beat the Eagles. This is actually a pretty decent rivalry as far as out of division play goes. Back in the early 2000s, these guys did not like each other. Back in the Warren Sapp days. And this is about to be revived. The fact of the matter is, the Eagles can't stop shit right now. If Tyrod Taylor and Darius Slayton are dropping bombs on your head, no disrespect to them, imagine what Mike Evans is going to do to your poor defense. And Sidney Brown is out. I'm fairly confident that this Philly defense is going to get dusted by the Buccaneers, which is probably going to lead to a shootout as well. A shootout that is going to be in favor of the Buccaneers. So there we have it. Those are my Super Wildcard Weekend playoff predictions. I was kind of planning on making a full playoff predictions video, but I'm just going to take it week by week. My preseason playoff pick or Super Bowl matchup prediction was going to be the Bengals versus the Eagles, and that's looking like a far-fetched shot right now. But if you gave me the bracket right now, I'm going to go with probably the consensus pick, which is the 1 versus the 1, and the Ravens and the 49ers. What I want to happen is the Browns versus the Lions in the battle of the dysfunctional franchises. Give me Joe Flacco and Jared Goff facing off in the Super Bowl. That's awesome. Hopefully we can get to that point, but for right now, those are my wildcard predictions. Let me know if you agree. Let me know if you disagree. Leave me your predictions down in the comments. Stay tuned for next week's predictions for the divisional round. Again, if you enjoyed the video, if you're new, check out some more of my content on my channel. A lot of similar videos, a lot of different videos revolving around the NFL. But that's all I got for you guys today. But until next week, I'll see you guys later.